My name is Reginald Lowe. I'd like to call the Special Faculty Permit Review Committee meeting to order. Since this is a teleconference, I would like to remind everybody to please state your name for the record whenever you speak. Mr. Higginson, please call the roll.
Ms. Yaroslavsky. Ms. Yaroslavsky.
Present, Maria Yaroslavsky.
Dr. Braddock. Dr. Cohen. Dr. James.
Here.
Dr. Najub.
Here.
Dr. Neubel.
Here.
Dr. Parker. Dr. Reeves. Dr. Sinatra.
Here.
Dr. Lowe.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum and we can proceed. Here at the Sacramento site, we have the medical board staff in attendance. We also have a member of the public attending today. Would any of the public attending like to introduce yourself to the committee?
Margie Lundstrom, Sacramento Bee.
Okay, so we have somebody here from the Sacramento Bee. Is it Marjorie?
Margie.
Margie Lundstrom. Okay, thank you. Does any other site have staff or members of the public attending the meeting? Okay, now, thank you. Now we'll move on to public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anyone have any public comments on items not on the agenda? Okay, since there are none, we'll move on with the next agenda item, approval of the minutes. The next agenda item is approval of minutes from June 6, 2012 Special Faculty Permit Review Committee teleconferencing meeting. May I have a motion to approve these as submitted?
This is Dan Jones, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, all in favor, do we have to take a roll call vote? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Yaroslavsky.
I wasn't present, so I don't know that I can vote.
Dr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Najum.
Okay. Neil
Dr.
Parker joining.
Hi, Dr. Parker.
Good morning, Kurt.
Dr. Webel.
Yes.
Dr. Parker.
Here.
Dr. Sinatra.
I was not at the meeting either.
Dr. Lowe.
Here, I approve. Do we have enough votes?
Not really. But the fact that,
They don't really have to be present.
right, this is, you can have, members, this is Kurt Hepler along with Diane Dobbs. We are the legal counsel. It's ours collective. You can still vote on this if you so desire. If you don't desire to vote on it, the minutes will not be approved. And so it leaves us kind of in an unusual position where we
So you're suggesting that if we were not present, we could vote?
yes. Don't you think, Diane? Yes.
So if that's your legal opinion, I'll vote to approve the minutes. It's Barbara Yaroslavsky.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra, I'll vote to approve as well.
Okay, so there's no public comment then, so we have everybody approving. And so,
Did you finish the roll, Mr. Edgerton?
Yes.
Okay.
okay, so the minutes are approved. Okay, our next agenda item is a discussion and consideration of the proposed conceptual revisions to section 2168 and following of the Business and Professions Code. Mr. Warden, please provide the committee with a brief history and summary of the current Business and Profession Code sections.
Okay, so the special faculty permit was created into Business Profession Code in 1997, and the first special faculty permit was issued in August 1999. Under the article 2168, you can be eligible to apply for this faculty appointment, being either eminently outstanding or clearly outstanding in your academic field as a full-time professor in a specific medical specialty or surgery. The Special Faculty Review Committee was created to review applications and make recommendations to the full board on approval of such permits. The committee consists of one representative from each of the 8 medical schools in California and 2 board members for a total of 10 members. Currently, for the total, we've issued a total of 22 permits since the inception. We currently have 16 permits that are current, 2 that are pending final documents, and 4 that have been canceled. The special faculty permit program was amended in 2006 with specific code section of 2168, 2168.1, 2168.2, and 2168.5. Again in 2007 for 2168.1, and again in 2009 for the 2168.4 and 2168.9. The summary is 2168.1 describes what the eligibility requirements for the review committee, and this section also specifies minimum requirements for the applicant. 2168.2 is the information on the application form. 2168.3 talks about violations. 2168.4 talks about the expiration and renewals. And 2168.5 is a report that was due to the legislature that on December 31st, 2011, which the board did. And then 2169 is the continuing education requirement. And that's the summary of the basic code.
Mr. Warden, are these in line with what is required of a regular licensee?
They're very similar to a regular licensee, with the exception of standing out for being either clearly outstanding in your specific field or eminent in that field.
But in terms of the renewal and so forth, and the guidelines that they have to adhere to?
There's only on the renewal part of it, the one exception to the renewal, all the 2168s are now required to meet CMEs, but they're also required to have the dean of the medical school sign that they're still meeting the requirements of 2168 on the renewal form. So that's the basic. They renew pretty much the same way as any licensed physician that's in a regular licensure process. So they do a deal online, pay their fees. It's every 2 years, just like a regular licensee. It's very similar. They have the survey they can fill out. They're on the website just like a regular licensee. So it's very specific, other than the fact that they can only practice at their medical school or affiliate that's been approved.
Yes, Mr. Kirkepler, our legal counsel.
Mr. Warden, I think it's be a fair assessment to say that my understanding, folks, back up, that the physician, the duly licensed physician and surgeon.
Mr. Hepler, could you speak into the phone? It's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Usually I don't have that problem. I'm sorry. Mr. Warden.
Say you do.
Mr. Warden, it's my understanding that the physician and surgeon application for the bona fide license or certificate is undergoing review right now, correct?
That's correct.
And it's my understanding, we had a conversation that in fact, when that task is completed, the 2168 application is next in line to be revised to sort of drag along those revisions accordingly, correct?
Yes, once we revise the physician and surgeon's application and it's all approved, then we look at the other special faculty permit programs, and the first one we review is this 2168.
And also, from reviewing it, the general rule of thumb is the 2 applications are very similar, except for the 2168 application has an attestation by the medical school of academically eminent or whatever the circumstances are, correct?
Academically eminent or clearly outstanding in their specialty.
Correct. So I guess that's a real difference. And so, and they renew essentially in the same way, correct?
Correct.
So the issue is, I think before, I'm trying to put words, but I think the issue is there, from the committee's perspective, if you consider the application and the renewal sort of inputs into the system, inputs into the medical board system. To some extent, is there something else that would be valuable for SFPRC to contemplate as an input? Is there something additional information or something like that the committee would find valuable?
I'd like to hear from the committee members. Does anybody have any comments regarding this?
So this is Barbara and Yaroslavsky, and I apologize because I'm new at this, but I wanted to ask the question of what is the purpose of us discussing this? I mean, are there issues that the dean feels that are not being met? Are there too many regulations? Do they want additions or changes? I'm not quite sure what we're discussing unless there's some issues.
Well, periodically we review on the special faculty permit requirements and other special program requirements. Today we're reviewing the special faculty permit requirements to ensure that the program still meets the needs of the medical schools, or if they have other needs they would like to meet. Or in this case is maybe if they would like to see further documentation, or they might need a little bit less documentation, or regarding how they are able to evaluate the applicant and the sponsoring school's choice to determine whether or not to make a recommendation to the board. So today it's sort of an overview of trying to determine if the current statutes and regulations meet the needs of the medical school while still providing public protection.
Exactly, that's why I'm asking the question I asked. Are there issues that the deans feel are not being met or need to be addressed, or there needs to be changes? That's what I was asking. That's why I asked the question I asked.
I don't think there were any specific concerns, but I had a concern in the past when I took over the committee about getting reports of the ones with active licenses and where they were each time we had a meeting or every time they came up for renewal. I thought we should have some kind of report so we could track how these positions were actually doing. And that may have been part of why this has all come to discussion. Do we have any other committee members that have comments?
So this is Neil Park. It is down at UCLA. So this has worked for us. I think it has for the other schools. There is, I mean, in the sense of applying for a regular license, everybody has to fill out an application and supply documentation, which we all do. We've been able to bring people that we needed on board. And so it has, I would argue, worked at least for UCLA. I do get a report, because we do track that the person is doing well, etc. They're part of our QA system. So they're screened and they're reviewed on the same basis as every single other physician on our medical staff. And I mean, I have a responsibility if there's a problem to report it to you, but in fact, every licensed physician gets that, and it's only when there's a problem you hear about it. So in the sense of the protection of the public, I think since they're in the same process, I don't think we have a need, and I don't know of any problems.
Okay. Anyone else?
This is Reginald Lowe, and I had some concerns because even though physicians may be eminent or authorities worldwide and so forth, there are definitely cultural differences in the practice of medicine in the United States. And I thought that maybe we could have Case or somebody develop a short course for these people that have this special faculty permit so they could understand the cultural differences of medical practice in the U.S., particularly the medical legal aspects, and maybe to some extent our practice of defensive medicine. Is that, do you think, I mean, is there any interest on anybody's part to try to develop some kind of orientation for these physicians coming from outside the U.S.? I mean, does anybody perceive that to be a problem? Do you think you can take somebody from Austria and plant them in San Francisco and expect them to be able to immediately integrate into our electronic medical records and, understand, how practice is done.
Dr. Little, this is Barbara Yaroslavsky with a question. Is it not currently the practice of each of these institutions to do orientations and acculturation and assimilation programs for doctors coming in from out of the country, be they part of this faculty or students as well? I would have to figure that each school has devised some kind of a program, and if they haven't, then that we need to know, I would assume. But I would hope that they come up with that.
Well, I think that's done on a campus-by-campus basis.
Again, this is Neil Parker. I will tell you, I was just at an international conference in France, which was talking about culture, etc. And you bring up, I would argue, a good point, but that is true for all physicians, and they're working in multicultural areas. And so I don't think that, at least for us, I mean, people who are trained in Singapore, our faculty who are trained in Australia, or those who have come from England, I'm not sure they're at any more of a disadvantage or an advantage than, and they bring part of that culture. The issue of malpractice, I think, is germane to every single physician. The whole use of an electronic medical record, again, we educate every single physician. I don't view this as a problem, nor have I have to tell you, with our 2111 or in the past 2114, 2113, we've not seen a problem because of physicians who have come in from international. Plus, we have individuals who have gotten their medical school outside the country, done a residency here, and they also were trained outside the country, and they bring that culture. I think that actually they bring something, and I'm not sure they are a problem.
Well, I don't think that it's a particular problem. I think that an orientation may be a plus and an added benefit to these people, so that they can have a little bit of a better understanding of the cultural differences in practice. The other issue with residents and students is that they're generally under supervision during their training. And most of the people that have licensure in California have been trained in the U.S. Isn't that right, Kurt?
Yeah, all of them have.
All of them have to be.
Yeah.
So during their training, they have actual supervision, and during the training, I think there's a lot more organized teaching of these issues. Plus, they actually live that whole cultural difference during their training, whereas these people are coming from the outside and they're instantly attendings. I just thought it would be helpful to them. It wouldn't have to be a comprehensive thing. It could be done on a campus-by-campus basis, but I think that there are enough differences that it's of some value to have some kind of orientation. If there's no interest, and it's fine with me, but I just thought that if we poll these physicians with the 2168, they might have some recommendations themselves. Okay, well, since there's no interest, I think we'll drop that and
Dr. Lowe, before you go dropping it, something, I'm thinking about what you're talking about in the scope of not only these specific licensees that are on special faculty permits, but it may be of interest given changes in whatever that in fact all of the medical schools might want to present a best practices for orientations they're doing for all of their students. And we have a lot of IMGs out there. We have a lot of people that are in fact being trained formally in foreign countries, and it's not an issue that they don't bring to the table or they don't know as much, but maybe there are tools that could be shared for best practices. I see where you're trying to go. I'm not sure that there's a need, but if you feel there's a need, I'm willing to figure out a way to make that need happen. So maybe some kind of an annual report, not in statute, but in just a sharing of information as part of an annual report to this committee or to the medical board, or I don't know to where, but if you think that there's a need to have the idea that what is going on in these orientations that there's a comfort level you're not comfortable with, I'm willing to try and make that happen.
This is Dan Jones from Loma Linda. To speak to that, I think that pretty much all of us in our graduate medical education programs take a special interest and give them extra help in acculturation. As a matter of fact, the organization that sponsors foreign-trained residents, the ECFMG, actually has quite a bit of acculturation material available online to the people that they work with. So that's extremely helpful. That's actually what we use as part of our international medical graduate orientation. But I'd like to draw a distinction from the typical international medical graduate who is turning up for the start of their residency and to the people covered by this section. These people, because of their eminence, have every single one of them, I believe, is practicing in a tertiary or quaternary care manner in a highly advanced medical school in a different country. And so probably for them, as Dr. Parker alluded to, the issue of cross-cultural differences has already probably been broached by them by the very nature of where they practice. So in a sense, for these special permit licensees or permit holders, they're probably less of a concern than people who may be starting their brand new internship as part of a J1 license, J1 visa holder at PGY1 level.
Well, maybe as a compromise, we can just give these people with a special faculty permit some resources that they can go to if they desire additional training. I think that would satisfy everyone. It's not that I believe that they absolutely need it, it's just that it would be nice to have some service offered to them if they want to learn more about possible differences. Okay, so there, as I understand it, no significant issues regarding this agenda item, is that correct? I mean, nobody's brought anything up, so we'll just move on to the next agenda item. Is that right?
Dr. Lowe, you might want to see if there's any public comment on number 4, even though the board hasn't taken any action. I'm sorry, the committee hasn't taken action for that. Anybody has any?
Okay, is there any public comment on agenda item 4? Okay, well, no comment. We'll move on to agenda item 5. This is a discussion and consideration of proposed conceptual revisions of the California Code of Regulations, section 1315.01, 1315.02, and 1315.03. Mr. Warden, please provide the committee a brief summary of the current Code of Regulations.
Okay, so for California Code of Regulations 1315.01, it just sort of defines what that all is, and that's in your packet on item number, attachment number 3 of agenda item 4 or 5, and it just defines what the dean of the medical school means to the permit and what the permit means on that. Basically just 2 small definitions, and this is what's been used for a very long time. So I don't know if there's anybody who has a change or thinks it needs to be more specific, but that's where that one is. The 1315.02 is requirement to notify the board within 30 days of the employment changes for the special faculty permit holder, employment status that would render the permit holder ineligible for a permit. So that's that particular regulation, and then 1315.03 is the criteria for eligibility to participate in the committee, which is basically you, and it's very clear on what that is. You're basically either a position from the board, a public member from the board, or a senior administrator, dean of the medical school that you're representing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warden. Are there any comments from the committee members? Okay, no comments from the committee members. Are there any public comments? Okay, moving on to item number 6, review and consideration of new meeting schedule. Has everyone seen the new meeting schedule? So, do you want to bring up the dates? I mean,
Okay.
why don't you review the dates?
So the next proposed meeting date is December 20th of 2012. The following one would be March 14th, 2013. The next one after that would be June 13th, 2013. And then the last one that's on this chart would be September 12th, 2013. These dates are sort of scheduled to allow us enough time before a board meeting to prepare any of your recommendations for the board.
Okay, if nobody has any objection, we'll just adopt that schedule then. Okay, are there any public comments? I think that completes today's agenda, is that correct?
That's all that's on today.
Okay, I want to thank all the committee members for attending and for their service. The meeting is now adjourned.